Hi, I'm Femi OK. Thanks for watching the stream. This month, President Biden's administration brought back the long-awaited asylum-seeking process for refugees, migrants who are on the southern U.S. border with the U.S. and Mexico. So many refugee and migrant advocates are hopeful that this would mean a humane immigration policy. Let me show you the experience of Ramay Rondon. He's a Venezuelan immigrant. This is what he's dealing with right now.
I'm waiting for my daughter-in-law with my granddaughter, whom I haven't seen since Monday when we arrived. On Monday, we went to Matamoros. They processed me, but not them. I'm waiting for them to come. I don't know how this is going to play out because they separate us. They separate us. And it's sad because they don't let a grandfather be with his granddaughter.
In this episode of the stream, we look at vulnerable refugees and migrants on the US-Mexico border. What lies ahead for their prospects of even getting into the United States? If you have thoughts and comments, experiences, YouTube is the place to be. Put your comment section right here. Be part of our program today. Joining us for Bucaramanga, Colombia, we have Paola Riza. She is a communication strategist for Welcome with Dignity. With us from the Bronx, Maribel Hernandez Rivera, Deputy National Political Director for the American Civil Liberties Union. And joining us from Brooklyn, Patrice Lawrence, Executive Director of the UndocuBlack Network. It is really good to have you with us. So this idea of Title 42, Maribel, in a nutshell, it was put in by the Trump administration basically to stop immigration because they said that COVID was a risk to Americans. And then when the Trump administration left office, Biden administration came in, still had Title 42. But just this month, that was lifted. And now, what? What's happened, Maribel?
And now we have Biden's asylum ban. So as you mentioned, Title 42 was started or used by a previous administration as an excuse to ensure that people who are coming here seeking asylum cannot do so. That was started under the previous administration. You mentioned that we expected that when Title 42 got lifted, we expected the asylum system to go back to normal. And what that means is we expected everyone to be able to come to our ports, apply for asylum, and be able to make their case. That is just definitely not the case. President Biden has created a new asylum ban in which he limits most people from being able to apply for asylum.
How quickly did it become Biden's asylum ban, Paola? Because officially, it's called the Circumvention of Lawful Pathways Rule. That's what it's called officially. How long did it take to be called Biden's asylum ban?
It's been called Biden's asylum ban since the beginning. This was a proposed rule that he had to put in the Federal Register and had to open up for a comment period. And during that time, Welcome with Dignity worked with other partners. We have 110 partner organizations in the campaign. And so we all worked together and with groups outside of the campaign to drive public comment onto the Federal Register. And we were able to, 79% of the public comments that ended up being posted were pro-asylum comments. So it was people saying, we need to save asylum. You cannot implement this rule. He ignored all of that and implemented the rule anyway. So I think it's safe to say this is Biden's asylum ban. This isn't like, a rule that the people want.
Patrice, I want to play a video comment from Aaron, who contributed to our show a little bit earlier on, and he talks about an app-based lottery. Have a listen to him and then explain to our audience what this app-based lottery is. Here's Aaron first of all.
The end of Title 42 means a return to normal immigration law, and with that comes the universal right to apply for asylum. But even today, asylum remains under attack, as the Biden administration has imposed a new regulation limiting asylum to individuals who come through ports of entry and who win an appointment via an app-based lottery. The reality is that the Biden administration needs to be ensuring that more resources are going to our ports of entry, and Congress needs to step in too. Without congressional action, we're going to continue to be in a situation where there are simply not enough resources to process asylum seekers safely and humanely.
Patrice, help us out. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one addendum that I'd make to what Aaron shared is that we are not back to regular asylum policy at all. With this new asylum ban and with this app that they have put in place, people do not have the universal right to apply for asylum. And we were there, actually, the three of us, we went to Reynosa, we went to Matamoros, we were in Matamoros, and then in Brownsville, the day that Title 42 supposedly had lifted, like that next morning. And people were not allowed to cross. It was like a ghost town. Like the border was extremely calm, and we were not seeing people able to cross. We actually came across a young couple, and they had an appointment, and they walked to the border, to the gate, and they were turned back, and they were really frustrated and distraught. So we're not back to normal. This app is racist, and I do not say that lightly. We were walking and talking to people who were in the camps, and they told us, they said, look, it's not recognizing my face. And these were black migrants.
Racist? I'm looking at it right now, or some screenshots of it. And you log in, you sign up. It says, I am a traveller, a broker, an aircraft operator. There's some job descriptions here. Report my arrival, report my departure. I mean, I hate logging on to new apps, but this one is incredibly detailed, Patrice.
So let me paint a picture for you.
Yeah.
Like I am here on the East Coast, and so my Wi-Fi is working pretty well, and I'm able to have this conversation. Imagine folks who are on their way up through Mexico, because a lot of folks are on the southwestern border, right? They've got spotty Wi-Fi, if they can get any at all.
Where are they charging the phone?
They have to pay for it with no money. Where are they charging the phone? Where are they getting internet from? Where are they able to do this? They're in Mexico, and they are literally trying to cross into the United States, and they can't even get to the gate. Like, the enforcement that we saw, the police officers that we saw, were before you even got to the gate to get into the United States, right? So then you're asking them to fill out this app. It glitched. They showed us, we have the error messages that people were getting repeatedly as they were trying. And it was really frustrating for them. Paula and Maribel, they saw it too.
Yeah.
And I just want to add to that. Oh,
Paula, you go first and Maribel pick up. Go ahead.
No, I just want to add that what this creates is a situation for people seeking asylum where they're like, okay, I can't afford food, I have nowhere to stay, but I need a cell phone, right? Like, let's talk about that first. The fact that people are fleeing their homes with just whatever they have on their backs, and they get robbed along the way, everything gets taken from them, and now they need to find a cell phone to be able to apply for asylum. Like, this app and the access issues it creates affects the most marginalized, the poorest people, who are the ones who truly need help. So there's a lot of issues with the app.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in just Pedro's voice before I go to you, Maribel. This is Pedro, who talks about trying to use the app and his experience. Let's take a look.
We're seeing is that many people are having trouble using the CBP1 application because it simply does not take their information, causing them frustration and desperation. At the same time, as Border Patrol is apprehending people, we're seeing that Border Patrol is not complying with the national standards to ensure that people are fed, given water, and ensure safety as they're making their way into the U.S.
I'm trying to work out how this is better than Title 42, where you could just take your chances, see what might happen. You might get in, you might not get in. Maribel, thoughts?
Right. I want to say a few things. Let's start with the basics. Asylum is a legal right, both under U.S. law and under international law. Under both U.S. and international law, people have the right to come to the United States and apply for asylum. That is a legal right. So that is what we're violating. Let's just be clear with that. Number two, let me just ask you, if your house was on fire, would you wait until you can make an appointment on an app to see if the fire department can come to your house? You wouldn't. You run for your life. When people are seeking asylum, it's because they are fleeing for their lives. They are either being persecuted or are afraid of persecution because of a specific characteristic that they have. So when people flee for their lives, they don't wait. They don't wait on an app. And now let's go to the other point. This app, it is classist, okay? So if I am somebody who's running for my life, and we met a lot of people, I can tell you the story of a mother that I met in Matamoros. She was living in an encampment in a small tent. The road was just dirt road. She was afraid that it was going to rain because when it rains, it gets muddy. There are puddles. She's living there with her 6-year-old daughter. Her 6-year-old daughter has been sick with a fever. I asked her, have you tried to make an appointment with the CBP1 app? You know what she told me? She said, on my way here, she was coming from Honduras, my phone was stolen. I don't have the money to buy a phone. And then after they have to buy a phone, they need the money to be able to pay for data or get some internet. And even in the camps that we saw that had internet, that provided internet, it was really hard. We saw many errors that said the network is not working. And then let me tell you another thing. This app is only translated into Spanish and Haitian Creole. And even when somebody who speaks those languages is using the app, the errors are in English. So people were using the app and then they came to us and said, what does this mean? I don't know what it means. I don't know what to do. And then the final example I would give, I saw one person who got an appointment and who got an email saying, you have an appointment now. You have to go back to the app and verify. You have 23 hours, go. So this person is trying to do so. She's trying to go back to the app. She couldn't get back in the app. She just couldn't. If she didn't do it in 23 hours, she goes back to zero and back to every single day going into a lottery to save their lives. That is a violation of U.S. and international law. And I can tell you that the ACLU, under the previous administration, we sued because this is illegal. And so that's why we're suing this administration, because if it was illegal then, it is illegal now. It will be illegal anytime anybody's trying to implement a restriction to the right of asylum.
So to answer your question, Femi,
yes,
it's not better than asylum under Trump. Biden is not doing better. He's taken a page straight out of Trump's playbook. And he might not be using the racist dog whistles that, Trump used with his base, but he is limiting access to asylum, and that's going to lead to more deaths at the U.S.-Mexico border. And the people affected most by all of these policies are always going to be Black and Indigenous migrants.
Patrice,
that is on us.
This is such a straightforward fix. If it's glitching, fix it. If there are people who are going to be off a phone, how else can they apply for asylum? Maybe just go back to the old-fashioned paper way. Patrice, I'm not a genius, but I could work out a few workarounds.
Femi, there's so many workarounds to this, not to mention, let's just be basic and remember that these people are human, right? And just remember, I like to think about it of, we should give these people the same rights that we give a mediocre white man from America. We think about it that way, we're good. We are really good at creating laws for the people that we respect. And by and large, that is who we respect here in this country. Think about them that way, and this would be solved easily. First of all, you wouldn't be giving them an app to have to fiddle through. Can you imagine giving people an app to fiddle through? And that error message that Maribel mentioned, I saw it. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. The rest of the app was in another language, and the error message was in English. You can't tell me that they don't know that this is happening, because they absolutely do. The Biden administration has been told, and they continue to roll out things that they know are not beneficial to migrants, especially Black migrants. I can't stress that enough. We saw what it looks like. We've been to shelters, and on the inside of the shelters are white passing or white migrants. And on the outside of the shelters were Black migrants. We did a Know Your Rights session in the back of a truck. And literally, it's the clearest thing as day. We turned to the front. We spoke in Creole. We turned to the back. We spoke in Spanish.
Patrice, you sent us a picture and to illustrate what you were seeing. I've got it on my laptop. So What are we seeing here? Are we seeing Haitian migrants here?
These are Haitian migrants. These are Haitian migrants for the most part at the front. So this was when we went with a delegation head by Haitian Bridge Alliance this was actually in Reynosa in Mexico. I took this picture with my phone. I was sitting in the truck. So, you've got a pickup truck. I was in the back of the pickup truck, and Paula was there. So was Maribel. And we had a microphone that we were giving people their rights, letting them know about the changing rules. And they also had had microphones asking us questions. The Black folks, if you notice, are outside the gate, and the shelter where we were where the other migrants were. And of course, you have Black Spanish-speaking migrants, but in this particular case, it was mostly non-Black Spanish-speaking migrants who were allowed the safe shelter within that gate, and the Black migrants who were outside on the street.
All right, so nothing seems to be changing. Let me take you inside one of the shelters, how people are living as they are waiting for their appointment to turn up on their app, if it works, okay? So they're in this situation. Paul O'Brien is Executive Director of Amnesty International USA. He takes us to a migrant or asylum seeker shelter so we can see the conditions that people are waiting in. Let's have a look.
We're here in Senda, which is a shelter that has been basically built by the migrant population themselves with the support of the Haitian Bridge Alliance and other amazing partners. I just want to show you how well put together this settlement is. And I want to tell you the most important part of this shelter is that wall, because outside the wall, which is provided some space of sanctuary and refuge, is a world of incredible risk for everybody who is forced to be there. And that is where the United States is sending back refugees that it no longer accepts as asylum applicants.
So this is more
That is literally where we were.
Yeah.
And right outside the
truck.
wall that he's pointing to,
Yeah.
that's where the Black migrants, the Haitian migrants, are forced to stay.
Tell me what it's like. Tell us what it's like there. Paola, you start. What it's like to live there.
Well, in this was a shelter. And
Yeah.
so it was in better conditions than a lot of the other places we visited. But we visited some encampments where most of the Black migrants live. And it literally is, you're like out in the woods, out in a wooded area. It's not developed. And people are just, on top of each other in tents. And they're sitting around all day just waiting for their chance to apply for asylum on this app. We have pictures of people huddled around, one charger, one surge strip where everybody can connect their phone. And when people like Felicia from the Sidewalk School, when they show up with the Starlink internet on top of their car to help everybody get access, everybody runs to that to try to get access. But essentially, they're living in really devastating conditions, the kinds of conditions that, we get upset about here in the United States when we're like, why are people experiencing homelessness? It's an encampment. People, families, children are living in tents. They're having to burn through their garbage because the city is not picking it up. They're having, cholera. There hasn't been a full cholera outbreak yet, but they had one case. And it's because they have an open defecation problem. They have porta potties that they don't have the money to clear. So people are just having to go out in the woods, to do their business. It's also safer to do your business out in the open woods than to do it in a porta potty at night, right? So these are the conditions that people that are fleeing for their lives are then in these conditions that create a lot more stress, and then trying to apply for asylum on an app that doesn't work. It's just like stress on top of stress on top of stress. We are compounding their trauma, and really, I think, setting people up to fail.
Let me bring in another point, if I may, Maribel, and I'll bring it right back to you. But two of the people that we reached out to be part of this show talked to us about U.S. foreign policy and how U.S. foreign policy is resulting in migrants and refugees and asylum seekers asking to come into the United States. How does that work? Have a listen, have a look.
A humane immigration policy first has to include a serious rethinking of U.S. foreign policy as it relates to the root causes of migration. We need to acknowledge that it's been decades of failed economic and military policies toward other countries that have actually contributed to the spiraling poverty and violence from which people are fleeing.
Under the Reagan era, for example, the U.S. financed deadly military dictatorships in order to secure and protect a specific economic model, which led to forced mass displacement from the region. Today, the Biden-Harris plan for Central America does not shift on these priorities, leading to similar consequences of migration.
Maribel.
Yes, well, so I want to tell you a few things. My husband is from Honduras, so I know exactly what it's like, and he's had plenty of his family members killed. So I know that when we say people are afraid to go back to their home countries or people are fleeing persecution, people are fleeing violence, that is not a hypothetical. That is a reality. Number one. Number two, we are responsible not only for the conditions that are making people flee their countries, but also the conditions that people are being kept in across the Mexico border, right? So it is our responsibility why people are living in tents. So the Senda shelter that you showed where Paul was there, that was the best shelter that we saw. But most of the shelters are not like that. Most of the shelters are really just a tent, if you have one. And if not, it's one of those black trash bags that we use here in the United States to put our bags. That's what people are using to shelter themselves and their families. You have small children there, and we are culpable for that because those people, what should be happening is they should be allowed to come to the United States and present their case in front of the system, right? And that's not what we're doing. So by us telling them not to come here, we are responsible for the deaths, because there are deaths happening across the border. We are responsible for the kidnappings, the torture that's happening, because many of the people that I spoke to, many of them have had run-ins with organized crime. That is a reality. That is their day-to-day life. So not only did they run for their life from their country, they are now trying to save their lives where they are being stuck because they have nowhere else to go. And when you have family, when you have children, one of the legal service providers has shared with us, there are women who have been raped again and again right now in Mexico who are trying to come seek asylum at the border and they're not being let in. So that's another thing that's really important. This administration will tell you, oh, there are exceptions. If you have some really extreme circumstance, we're going to let you in so that you can present your asylum case. That is not what we saw. That is not what we're seeing. We are seeing people, even in extreme circumstances, being turned back. And we are seeing the collaboration between the U.S. government and the Mexican government.
Patrice, I'm going to put some... Patrice, if I may, our audience are reacting to what you're saying, so I'm going to put some of the thoughts to you. And please, just a one-sentence response to each of these, if you don't mind. Casey Miller, an app is not the answer. Patrice, your response?
No, it absolutely is not. A humane face-to-face is the answer.
Another thought here. Customs Border Patrol, the answer is for them to do their job and process people at the port of entry. Is that possible? Patrice, again, one-sentence answer.
100% it is.
All right. This one's a little bit trickier. Mixing refugees and migrants puts refugees in a harder situation, a more challenging situation. Maribel, can you do a one-sentence answer to that? Is that a problem?
I have to tell you that who is an immigrant and who is a migrant is a very difficult thing to determine. And so that's why people need to be able to make their case, because immigration law and asylum law are quite complicated. So you can't tell from just the face of it, this person is this and this person is that. That's why we have a system.
We are getting so many people, Paola, reacting to the conditions that they're seeing that migrants, refugees, asylum seekers are living in. What would be a more humane immigration policy? We're obviously not there yet for the United States. What could be done better?
Well, there's a lot that could be done better. First of all, in the campaign, we have, I've mentioned over 100 organizations, partner organizations that work in various areas, legal, providing aid, research, all kinds of things. And they put together a lot of recommendations for the White House of how to approach our asylum system more humanely. We have that on our website. We've sent it to the White House. They have chosen to ignore it. But specifically, I can say right now, if we shifted some of our money from the militarization of our border, enforcement, detention, if we changed some of that and focused instead on processing and welcoming people seeking safety, that would alleviate some of the problem. And that's an easy fix. But again, the administration and previous administrations have chosen to ignore that.
I feel like, Paola, I should just send you and Maribel and Patrice to the White House.
They wouldn't let us in.
With your experiences,
I would let us in.
With your photographs, with your passion, and I think we'd see a very different story. Thank you so much for making time to be on the stream today. We really appreciate you. Thank you, viewers who are watching, contributing via YouTube. We will continue to follow this story, of course, of US migrants, refugees, And also asylum seekers on the US southern border. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.